Okay, so I presume you can all hear me. So we're going to have a look at shapes. This will start off by the most basic shape engine. We'll have a look at creating shapes, editing them. We'll also have a look at the layout for your fixtures because that relies heavily for how your shapes work. And the last bit we'll look at will be pixel mapping and recording that as a palette, because you can use that palette for other fixture types as well. So give me 2 seconds. We're just going to minimize this bit. Okay, so today I'm working on the Titan simulator. If I fire this playback, you'll notice we've got an external visualizer on the left hand side, which is capture, and I've got a show file in front of me to work with. So for the first bit, I just want to show you where you can go for your shapes. To find the engines, shape engines, go to soft key D. You note it says shapes and effects. You've got shape generator, pixel mapper and keyframe shapes. We are on the latest version, which is 10.1 as well, so you may notice a few changes whilst we go along the webinar today. So to start off with, we need to choose some fixtures. So I think these beams will look alright actually. If I press locate, there we go. So we've got 4 lines of truss, 10 on each line. We'll use those to start off with. So if I go back to the shape generator here, you can see that we can create a shape there. Now, before I create the shape, I do need to double check the layout of these fixtures. So I want to go back a step, go to group, so you'll find a grey group button, select the beams group. On your soft keys you've got the options to edit your group layout. So I'm going to go to where it says edit layout. Okay, so that's not too bad. As you'll notice here we've got each line of beams there. We have to try and get them as relevant as possible to the rig. So if I select them all, press locate, let's tilt them actually slightly further in front. Okay, you'll notice they've actually got a gap in between each row. So what I'm going to do is try and separate them by about a 2 space gap each. So to do this we can move the grid just here. I'm not going to lie, it's a lot easier with the mouse. If you're on like a quartz for example, you may want to plug a mouse in as well, but you can touch the screen, so it's absolutely fine if you don't have one. You can select them just like this and move them downwards. That'll do. Okay, so we'll look at this more later on when we do pixel mapping, but for now I'm happy with that. I just want to have the grid crop itself around those fixtures. On the consoles you'll have something called a context menu. So this context menu will be on the right hand side of your screen, just about here. But because I'm using a Titan 1 simulator, I don't have that. My context menu is here on my window. All the options are there, so I'm going to select crop grid. There we go, and you'll notice it's now around those fixtures. So I'm ready to actually do some shapes. If I go back to shapes and effects, go to shape generator, select my fixtures, and then I'm going to go to soft key A, create. So with the shape generator, those of you that are used to using the older consoles, the older desks, you're probably used to using this one because it's the first one that Avolites did, and they've decided to keep it quite simple, but there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. You can do pan and tilt, so movement. You've got colour shapes, you've got beams, gobos, dimmer, all sorts. But we'll start off with this one, pan and tilt. You'll have the position shapes window appear on the left. Choose a shape. So I'll go for this one here, tilt saw. So I've chosen one. It looks a little bit boring at the moment, so we can adjust some of the options. All the options are on the right hand side of your soft keys. So you notice you've got 2 adjust options here. First one allows you to change the speed, so you can have it fast or slow. The size allows you to make that shape big or small. If I try it and not be rubbish at this on the mouse, there we go. So I've made the size slightly bigger. I can make it much bigger there as well. The second adjust option has something that's really good called spread. Now this is what looks, for me, much different if I try and change the numbers. So if I do a spread of 10, what will happen is the programmer for that shape will count every 10th fixture and then start again. So I've done a spread of 10 and it will go right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that will be out of phase by about, here it says 32.73 degrees. That's quite exact. Let's put it on, there we go. Okay, so we'll say it's about, that's not bad. I'm not amazing with the mouse, apologies, there we go. So this one's on a spread of 10, it's out of phase by 36 degrees. And you can tell, and it will keep counting background. If you did it on 4, it will count for every 4 fixture along. And this entirely depends on the layout of your fixtures. So when I went to change the layout earlier on, you'll notice I did it because this shape now is following it and starting from the left to the right. Otherwise it wouldn't know where it's going. So you don't have to stop there. You can go to something called direction, so soft key C, and there's quite a few directions that you can choose from. So the directions allow you to tell your shape where you want it to start. So here, there it is, it says it's going left to right. There's one that I quite like. Here it is, middle outwards. If we select this one, the shape will start from the middle and work its way out, and it will just loop back around in itself. Okay, so I'm going to press exit and I want to add another shape. So let's do a colour shape. If I go to soft key A, create, go to colour, soft key C, and we'll have the colour shapes window appear. It's worth mentioning that not all of the shapes, colour shapes here, will work for these fixtures because every fixture is different. You'll get fixtures that will have different colour information. Some fixtures may not even accept, say, RGB. They may just have, say, colour wheels. So keep that in mind. Let's try this one, rainbow RGB. Why not? There we go. An amazement of colours. So we have here now a colour shape as well. And we can edit this exactly the same as our movement. For example, if I go to spread here, and I put this on 3, actually let's put it on 4, there we go, you'll notice it's out of phase by about 90 degrees and it will update that for you. The shape is still running left to right for the colour, so the colour is running left to right. I can change that direction similarly by going to soft key C, selecting this direction, middle outwards. There you go, you'll notice it looks a lot better now from the middle outwards. And the last one I'm going to show you, if you press exit once, is go to create. The last shape we'll add on top of this is dimmer. And we could do dimmer sort or spread. I'm going to do dimmer pulse. There you go, so at the moment we have a dimmer pulse, but if I change again, say the spread to 4, or it looks a bit weird, you'll notice it's going left to right every 4th fixture. It starts the shape, it's out of phase by 90 degrees. If I change the direction again from middle outwards, there we go. Shape starts from the middle and it works its way outwards and it just goes back round on itself. So with certain shapes we have 3 shape engines. 2 out of the 3 you can record as a palette, but for this one, just to show you to start off with, I'm going to record it as a playback. If I press record, select a playback here for it to go onto, press clear, fire the playback, there we go, and that's my shape from the shape generator. There's a lot you can create as well. So for example, you don't have to have fancy coloured ones like this. We can, if we wanted to, let's do the source files, why not? So if I use the source files for this example, go to Shapes and Effects, Shape Generator, Create, and I'm going to go to Dimmer for this one and do a dimmer pulse. And change the spread to, say, 4. And I'm going to make it slightly faster, just like that. Change it so it's outwards, middle outwards. And that's just a simple dimmer shape that you can use for the source files. So there's not for movers, you can do it first for dimmers as well. Again, record, check your record mode, put it on a playback, press clear, and there we go. We've got some funky source files going on. If you put them together, wow, that looks a little bit much. but you get the idea on how you can use shapes. Okay, so that's how you can create a shape, basic shape using the shape generator. What we'll do is next we're going to have a look at editing them. So I'm going to show you how to edit a shape in the shape generator and how you can do that live as well. Any questions throughout today, please put them in the questions box as well. Okay, so I've got my shape. Let's choose, I'll tell you what, let's choose this one. And I've recorded it and I've decided it actually looks a little bit horrible. So I want to change the colour, for example. Best way to do it is press your include button, select your playback for the shape. And what that does is you'll notice if I bring the fader down, the programmer, it's brought all of that information back into it. So we've got the attributes that it recorded on the bottom right where your wheels are. To edit it, I'm going to have to go back into shapes and effects, go to the shape generator, and you've got the option here where it says edit. If I select it, there's options. So I've got options to delete certain shapes, so I can just delete that colour if I wanted to, or I can edit that colour. So let's say I wanted to get rid of it. I'm going to go to delete, and you've got the three shapes here. We've got the tilt saw, rainbow RGB, and the dimmer pulse. So if I select this one, the rainbow RGB, I'm now going to press enter. There we go. And it looks less horrendous now, so it's a bit less colourful, but we've still got the tilt saw shape and we've still got the dimmer shape. If you want to edit it, all you have to do is go to soft key B, edit. You can select the shape you want to edit, so I may change the movement on this one. And I'm going to select the tilt saw because that's the one I want to edit first. Press enter, and now it's selected itself onto that, so I can press exit, and once you've done that you have these adjust options to change. So I can change, let's change the spread for example, just there, 19, 20. You can change those. I might make it a little bit slower as well. There we go. So you can see that the dimmer has changed. And if you're happy, you can press record, select the playback that it was originally on, and we can replace that. So if I press replace, everything that was on that playback before, which was really colourful, is now this. Just one thing to mention, because I've noticed it's happened twice now, because I'm using the Titan simulator, every now and then a random DMX fit will happen, as I call it. So you'll get some DMX information just shoot itself out because you're using the simulator. So it will happen every now and then, so don't worry if it happens to you and you're using the simulator as well. Oops. Cool. So we've had a look at editing shapes. Best way to do it is include it back into the programmer. If you want to edit it live whilst you're doing a show, this feature is on version 10 onwards. All you need to do is press this button here. It's called Q or Connect Q. If you tap it, press the shape button on your attributes and decide what it is that you want to change. So if you want to change the tilt saw, for example, have that one in blue selected, press enter, and you'll notice on the right hand side of your soft keys you've got at the bottom speed, size and phase. You can change that. You press it again, you've got your spread and your offset. So what I'm going to do is change the speed. That's really, really fast, so I can make it really fast or really slow. And anything that you change here will not permanently save onto that playback. So because you're doing it live, so to speak, it's not going to permanently save, because if I now press clear, oh, it's done a DMX fit again. Give it 2 seconds. There we go. Bring the playback down and refire it as well. So yeah, actually that does look like it saves. Amazing, 10.1. So yeah, actually anything that you change, it now saves onto your playback. That's the way that you can edit it live whilst you're busking. Just think of the way to edit it when you're not doing it live is the include button. This works for all of your shapes. So if you're doing a shape generator, you can do the Connect Q, select your shape button, and then you could say dimmer pulse for this one, then press enter. So that's the way you can edit your shape generator live. With regard to shapes palettes, we'll have a look at that after. What I want to show you now is keyframe shapes. So with the keyframe shape, it's an entirely different program. It was brought in on version 9 onwards, so it was the kind of later of the shapes that were created, but it's really useful because you can actually make your own shape from it, and it gives you the ability to manipulate it to how you want it to go. So if you want that perfect circle shape, you don't have to kind of rely on the shape generator for that. For this example, I'm going to grab the truss set of fixtures and press locate. Now, I don't know what the group layout is for this, so again we need to go back to group button, press the group called truss, go to edit layout. Yay, that's not bad. So it's worth double checking. So this one's already laid out, as you can see. We've got the front, mid and back, which is awesome. If you wanted to double check, you can press your highlight button. Using your fix +1 and fix -1, there you go, you can flick through them. Just double checking this because you never know. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so those are in order, so we can actually go to doing a keyframe shape. So if I go back to shapes and effects, go to keyframe shape and go to create, it's always made up of frames. So a keyframe shape will always be made up of frames. The best way to think of it, if you're new to it, is a frame is almost like a step. So you'll have layers and layers and layers. You can have as many layers as you want with a keyframe shape. It's best to have one attribute per layer. You don't have to, but you'll see in a little bit why it's easier. For example, for this one, we're going to have position for this layer. Layer 2, we're going to have intensity, and then layer 3 will have color. Your frames are your steps, and they're almost like your reference points. So for the position one, we're going to try and do a flyout effect to the audience. So the first position, or the first frame, will be right to the audience. Oh, there we go. When you're happy, go to add frame at the top, soft keys, and you'll notice just down here, it will show you that's your first keyframe. We'll move it back for the second keyframe, just down there. That's all right. Then go to add frame, soft key A. Cool. And then you've got 2 frames. So you've got the first and the second. Once you're finished, go to finish recording frames, soft key G, and you'll have the effect editor window appear. If you ever lose this window by mistake, like that, and you get rid of it, it's under your workspaces just here. So it looks a bit complex, to be honest, when you first look at it, and you think, wow, what's this? But we'll break it down into sections. So this here is like a lovely graph, and to be honest, the best way to think of it is that this is where your frames are. It's just more of a visual representation of what they are doing. The default is crossfade. If we click here, that's your position 1, which was to the audience. This one here is position 2, which goes back down to the band. And this little thing here, which says number 2, is a big line. It's your kind of midpoint between the both. You can move it left, right, center, wherever you want. You'll notice if I move it to the left, it's really slow, and it's very quick at going back to the second position. If you have a look, if I move it all the way to the right, there we go. Oh no, DMX fit. We'll pretend that's not happening. Just give it a second. There we go. You'll notice that it looks like it's going the other direction, and it's holding on a lot longer to frame number 1. But we'll keep it in the middle for now. You can change the curve of your shape by tapping the screen or using a mouse like I am and just changing it here. But if you're like me and you're rubbish at it, then on each keyframe you have this option here at the end. So this is like an icon of your curve. Tap it and we've got some presets for you. So at the moment it doesn't look too bad, but it could do with being a bit smoother. We're going to go to ease both. You'll notice the curve from its start into its finishing position for that position is now quite smooth, which means if we do it again for the second one, it will look a lot smoother. So from its beginning to the end, it will smooth gently to the next frame. So we've got some sort of movement. isn't massively interesting at the moment, so we'll add another layer. So layer 1, we've got positions. Let's go to another one. To add anything such as layers, go to the plus button down here, select the option that says layers, and it will home all of your fixtures back to where they were, so it will take them to their home position. For this one, all we're going to do is add intensity on and off. So keyframe 1, we'll go to intensity, excuse me, and put it on 100%. Add frame, we've got that there. Put the dimmer to 0%, go to add frames, soft key A, and now we've got 2 frames. We'll finish recording frames, and now we've got layer 2, we've got dimmer on and off. But it's a bit hard to see because at the moment they're crossfading between each other, just there. And if you look at the visualizer, it's just a bit of a flicker. There's not really a lot going on. So this is where the snap curve comes in handy. If I go to snap for intensity on it, will hold and hold and hold on, and then quickly snap to frame number 2, which I want to hold off. So if we snap that one, you'll notice it holds itself off all the way to the next bit. So if you have a look at the visualizer now, it looks like we're doing a fly out effect to the audience. Again, we can move this left, right and center. So if I just move that, say this way, there we go. It's changed the way it's going completely. There's also a really good option here. If you select where it says keyframe shape, this is from version 10.1 onwards. We've actually got an option to reverse your shape. So if you press reversed, just there, there you go. It's a bit hard to see, I'll do it again. So if you have a look at the shape, I'm going to reverse it about now. There you go, and it reverses it. That will reverse every single layer that's under that keyframe shape. So if you've got color and dimmer, it does exactly the same for those layers too. Now, it's not too bad, but we can make it look a little bit nicer. So if you go to spread at the top, you've got all these options that were similar to the shape generator, but under keyframe shape. We're going to change it to 3 because we've got 3 rows of truss. And the reason I want you to put it on 3 is if we go to direction, we're going to have it going from the back to the front. So we'll change it to this one. Cool, there you go. So we've got each row of truss separately flying out to the audience rather than doing it all together, and it looks really good. Just for a little bit of colour, we'll add one more layer. So if we go to the plus button here, go to layer, and let's select, oops, not that one, press locate, cool. We're going to add some colour, so you can use your palettes for this. I want to go red, add frame, blue, that's quite dark actually, blue, add frame. So we have 2 frames again, red and blue. We'll go finish recording frames. Awesome, there we go. So we've got red, we've got blue. They're both same as the position and the dimmer layers. They've got a spread of 3. The direction's going from forward, from the back forwards. You can again change the curve, but you'll notice if I move this one all the way here, you can barely see the blue. So if you want to see more of the blue, just move the midpoint, because at the moment the blue is only coming on when the intensity is off. So this is off and this is blue. If I move it to the left, yeah, there we go, we have more blue. And I'm going to put each of these on snap. So it's holding red, snaps, holding blue, just before it turns off. Now keyframe shapes is the only shape engine that you can't record as a palette, but that's okay, we're going to record it onto a playback. So if we press record, select one of the 3 playbacks such as this one, press clear, and there you go, we can fire it. Oh, there we go, fire it there. You can control the way that your shape moves on the fader itself. So at the moment you'll notice I'm just bringing the fader up and down, and when it's up it shows, when it's down it gradually fades out. To do this we'll go to playback options, select the playback for the shape, go to, where is it, fader, soft key C, and you can change the size of your shape and you can control the shape and effect speed on the fader. But to do this you need to select them to go on the fader if I press exit, you'll notice that when I bring it down and refire it really slowly, it's really gradually, intensity-wise, colour-wise and position-wise, it's quite slow. The speed is really slow. If I gradually fire the fader still, it gets faster and faster until it's fully at the top. And I can bring it back down again really slowly as well. So you can have more control of your shapes that you record just by changing the way that you actually use it on your fader. And that's all in your playback options. Okay, so that is how you can create a keyframe shape, and that's how you can run it as well onto your faders. Keyframe shapes, there's kind of endless possibilities with them, so this was just a basic example. You can use them for any fixtures that you have as well. Okay, any questions you've got, just ask them in the questions box. If not, we'll continue with one of the last bits of today's webinar, which is pixel mapping. So if you've got any questions, ask them now. If not, we'll continue with the rest of the shapes. Okay, so we haven't got any questions. Oops, accidentally did that. So we'll continue with the webinar. Okay, so we've had a look at shape generator. We've looked at keyframe shapes. We're going to have a look at the last shape generator, which is pixel mapping. So pixel mapping is brilliant. It's particularly good for shapes, but it's good for what I'd say anything that you've got that's like a picture. So if you wanted to like adjust a picture or have a picture that's say on LED wall or something, you can do that. But for anything that's a bit more simpler, and you've got some fixtures that are just a few movers and you want to have like a shape that's moving around them, pixel mapping can do that as well. So it's really flexible in the sense, depending on how you use it, you can have it as complex or as simple as possible, and it's still very effective. For this one, I am going to record it as a shape palette because I want to show you how you can use it to your advantage for any shape really, any fixtures. Most fixtures will be able to accept a palette that's recorded as global for a shape. So for this example, if I go back to my groups and palettes and select this one, this is the Nexus fixtures, and you can see that these are just dead LED panels. Now I need to have a look at the group layout for this one. So to do this, I want to go to Shapes and Effects, Pixel Mapper, and then go to Edit Group Layout and select this group here. And I'm going to zoom out. There we go. So we're in the Layout Editor window. Now these are the fixtures here that we've got. Any fixture that you have that has 4 or more cells will be indicated with the first cell as green and the last cell as red. And this is from version 10 onwards, which is really useful actually, because if you find yourself in a situation where you've actually got some fixtures that are similar to this and you turn up and somebody's rigged them upside down or rigged a couple of them the wrong way round, rather than having to get them or someone to move them to where they're supposed to be, you can, for example, take this one and say, okay, well, this is actually upside down on my rig. I'm going to use the wheel for angle and move it this way. And then what that would do is the programmer will know that that's actually upside down, and it will be able to pixel map correctly whatever shape it is you want to pixel map to it. So it's really useful when it comes to any situation where that happens. So let's put that back. So your grid here is where it gets pixel mapped. So any shapes you create get pixel mapped here. So we need to lay this out to reflect the layout of our rig. So what we're going to do is I'm going to select this row and move it here. Now there is another way that you can do this. If I go to my context menu here at the top, and yours will be on the right hand side if you're on a console, there is the option to go to arrange fixtures, and on the right hand soft keys, if you can calculate the width and the height of how you need them, you can arrange it so that it saves you time and hassle. And you can also do it in a particular shape. You've got rectangle by default, oval or triangle. But because we don't have many here, I'm just going to do, say, a three space gap. Just there. Now you can do this off the grid as well. So you'll notice that I'm just continuing off the grid. It's absolutely fine. And you can move the grid if you want to, just like this. So we'll go downwards, exactly the same. We'll do 3 spaces gap. Just try and get it as close as possible as you can to the layout of the rig you've got. And then when you're finished, you go to crop grid, and it crops the grid around those fixtures, ready for us to pixel map. So to create an effect, we go back to Shapes and Effects, Pixel Mapper, then select the group, which is this one here. Go to Create Effect, and it will give you that Effect Editor window back. So the Effect Editor window is used for keyframe shapes and pixel mapping. We've got 4 layers for a pixel mapper, so you can't actually use any more than 4. That's the limit. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a lot that you can do. Here you've got the options to actually see your fixtures and how it's getting pixel mapped. If you don't want to, you can change your fixture overlay and have it as off, so that you don't have to have the fixtures on there. But I prefer to have it on there. Okay, so let's start to make some shapes. If you select layer 1, go to the plus button at the bottom, and you'll notice we've got elements. These are shapes that we've preset for you, and if you have got a particular one that you want to save, just pop it on a USB stick as a JPEG or a PNG file, and you go to this one here, the folder. AB is text, so we'll do some text in a bit, and this hand with a pencil or a pen is free draw, and you'll know my art skills are horrible because I'll do it in a little bit and show you. So for this one, I'm going to select the circle, and I can see that on the effect editor there is actually a circle, but on the visualizer I can't see the circle at all, and that's because the colour information in the pixel mapper is entirely different and separate to your main programmer colour information. This is why we can't see it. So in order to see what we've got, we have to go to this icon here at the bottom left, which is a picture of a sun with a weird black hole in it. So if you tap it, it takes all of the colour information in this programmer, the main one, to 0. So we can see the blob. Now once you've just selected your shape, at the bottom you've got options to manipulate it. So I can zoom in with my circle, I'll put it there. You can add a border, we can make it look like a donut or some sort of ring shape, move the X and Y position. There's loads of stuff you can do, and if you've got a pointy object, like a pointy shape, you can add points and so on. To change the colour, you can only have one colour per layer, so select the layer, go to colour, just here, colour bar, and choose a colour. Let's do blue. Now at the moment it's nice, but it's a bit boring, it's not really doing much, so to get it to do something we have to animate it. Select your circle or your shape, go to the plus button, and it will see all the animations. You can have more than one animation, and certain animations such as these 3 at the end will only work if you've got an existing animation. So let's try this one. There we go. So at the moment I've got this animation. To add another one, just select the shape, go to the plus button, and I'm going to do this one, which is called displacement. There we go. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to make it look like a bit of a donut shape. I've changed my mind. There we go, so it's a bit of a ring. And you can keep going back and forth, changing your animations and your actual shapes as well. Each animation has options to manipulate, so you can make it faster if you want to. So we've got speed for this one. Wow. We've got in and out time. So if I move the time so that it holds, there we go, and try and match it with the out time. Gosh, that's really fast. Make it really slow. We can have it so it looks like it's bouncing a bit. There we go. So that's how you can manipulate your shape. Turned out to be circle, now it's just some bouncing ring all over the place. So we'll keep that as layer number 1. Layer 2, I'll select layer 2, go to the plus button, and we'll go to AB. So this is text. And the default is Avolites, had to be Avolites, but you can change it if you want to. To change it, you just go to where it says text to display here. You can put it as your name, whatever you need to. Font, you've got different font styles. You've got quite a lot. You've even got wingdings. Wow, let's have a look at that. Yeah, you've got wingdings somewhere. You can change its opacity, but for this one, always double check how it actually looks on your rig, because in the visualizer, it doesn't look amazing. So if I zoom in, that's a bit better, on the actual text and just move it to the left a bit. There we go. I now want to add an animation so that it scrolls across from the left to the right. So again, go to the plus button, go to the animation here that goes left to right. You can never miss this now, it's massive. It says Avolites, but it hasn't got a space actually between the time it respawns that word, Avolites. You'll notice it says Avolites, and then when it finishes, the S just spawns again. So there's something called spawn rate. If we go to spawn rate and turn it really slightly downwards a bit to the left, it's quite sensitive. You'll notice we've now got a small gap between when it respawns. You can actually change the direction of that shape as well. At the moment it's going left to right. This is where it could all go wrong. Let's have a look. Move the X position this way. There we go. I thought I lost it there. Cool. So we've got it. We've now got it going right to left. And it's got a lovely big gap. There we go, before it respawns. So you can change the direction as well if you want to. The last layer, we're going to draw a picture. So select layer 3, go to the plus button, go to that hand with the pen icon, and you can draw a picture. It's worth noting that anything you draw, you cannot change the colour once it's done, because this colour information on the quick sketch tool can't ever be changed. So you have to make sure that you're happy with the actual colour and the drawing, of course, but I can't draw, so let's do this instead. Squiggly line. Yay. Press enter. Wow. Okay. So apart from the fact it's not the best drawing in the world, we are going to change that and move it, because at the moment it's actually right at the front of everything. So layer 3 is at the front. The highest layer, which is layer 1 at the top of the list, is actually the one that's in the background. So to move your layers up and down, tap the layer you want to move, look at the 2 arrows here, up and down, and just press twice up. That's a bit better. I'm going to change the opacity of my picture, so we can select it and just, there we go, make it look less horrible. And lastly, we're going to animate it. So if I press the plus button, how can I even make this look not too bad? There we go. And I'll add another animation. We'll add displacement. So we have it looking like this on here, but on the actual fixtures, we can see it just there. And it's not too bad. So if you're happy with it, you can record this as a palette, or you can record it as a playback. I'm first of all going to record it as a playback. There's a reason why in a second, because we'll have a look lastly at pixel map and masters. So if I press record, check your record mode for this one, select a playback to put it onto, and then press clear. There we go. So we'll use this one in a little bit, but the reason that I'm not is because we're going to record one last pixel map effect. So we're going to select this one, press locate, go to the pixel mapper, create effect. We're only going to use one layer. There's a reason for it, and it's so we can use this as a global palette for other fixtures. Go to the plus button and let's do a square. Remember, go to the black hole sun and change the width and the height of it so it looks like a rectangle. That's okay. Give it a colour, so we'll select layer 1 and I'm going to give this colour red, something like that. And I want you to give it an animation, so if you select your block, go to the plus button and let's select the first one. There we go. It's a really simple one, it's just a simple red line that spins round, but we're going to record this one as a palette. So come out back to the root menu, go to Open Workspace Window, soft key F, and you want to find this one that says Shapes and Effects. And this is your window to record your shape palettes. So just like an ordinary palette, just tap one of the empty spaces, name it PixMap, press enter, and that's it recorded. Now it's really similar like as position. So position and shape palette will only take the position and shape information it needs. So if I have in the program a beam information, color, whatever, loads of different attributes here, and I record it as a palette for my pixel mapper, it's only going to take the effect information, which is this one. But that doesn't really limit you because you can add other attributes to these shape palettes afterwards. If I press clear, press exit, get rid of everything and go back to the groups and palettes workspace, select the Nexus wall, press locate. Now if I go back to my palette, so it's Open Workspace Window, Shapes and Effects, select PixMap. Cool, yeah, you'll notice it will show, but that colour information has come back. So when we're in Pixel Mapper, I mentioned that you have to put the black hole sun picture on so that you can have the colour taken to 0. So in order to do this, we go to the colour attribute, put your red, green and blue information for these fixtures at 0. And there you go, you'll notice that it looks how it should do. I'm going to merge this new colour information into that palette. So if I press record, select the palette and go to merge, that will merge and add, we can see it now, the colour into that palette. I'm going to press clear. Let's try this on the beams. So if I select the beams, press locate, and I move them out a little bit, I can say, right, let's try this pixel mapper effect on it. There we go. And again, you'd have to do the colour information separately for different fixture types. So we'd have to do it for this fixture type as well. Press record, select the palette and merge, press clear. And with the BMFLs, I can press locate, tap the palette, ooh, and it's a bit squiffy, and that's a good example of why you should always double check your layout for your fixtures. So the layout is not quite right on this at all. But if I press clear and go to the truss ones, we did that earlier on, so we can see it looks really good. But again, we need to put the colour information down, press record, press the palette and press merge. And that will work with every one of those fixtures now. So if I select the palette for the wall, go to the beams, select for the beams, go to the BMFLs, there we go. There's a lot of red going on. But you can see that the pixel mapper works really well if you record it as a palette because it's global and it can be used between any fixture type that accepts the information. So for this one it was colour, so you've got this red line going around. Okay, the last thing that I wanted to show you is more as a pixel mapper layer master. So it allows you to have all your layers on your pixel mapper that you've created separate and onto different faders, and this means that you can have more control of when each layer arrives. So what we'll do is we'll use that lovely one that I did earlier on. There we go, 3 layers, bright and colourful, and it just has Avolites on it. So we have 3 layers for this. I want to put each one of these layers, so the shape that I drew on one, Avolites on another, and what was it I did? The rin shape on here. This will allow me to have more control, but it also lets me change the colours as well. Best way to think of it is you need to think of it in two steps. The first thing we have to do is include it back into the programmer. So press include, tap your pixel mapper effect, and it's back into the programmer now. Go to Effect Editor. Now, if I select layer 1, you'll notice that on here it says Use Master. If we tap it and toggle it on, that means we're now going to tell this layer to listen to an overall master fader. Press layer 2 and do the same. Go to Use Master, turn it on. Layer 3, Use Master, turn it on. And now we have to press record and record this onto a separate playback. So we'll pop it on here. That's the first step done. We put Use Master, turned it on, and have recorded it on the playback. Second bit, go back into record, go to Soft key E, create master. There's loads of masters you can do, but we want this one, Pixel Mapper. And now you can assign each layer onto a fader. So if I go layer 1, put it onto this free playback. I think it's having a little moment. Give me a sec. Right. Oh. Let's try that again. Press include. That one. Okay, so I'll go back into record. Create master. Pixel Mapper. We'll do layer 2, we'll continue from there onto here. Yeah, there we go. Layer 3 on there. I think it had a fit. So if we press clear now and press exit, if I try and fire this one, which is layer 1, I can't see anything at all. That's because you always have to have this one fired at all times. So this one has to stay on. And this is the one that we recorded that had to use master on. Now, if I fire it, there we go. So layer number 1 was this one, my shape that I drew. And you notice it's still pink. That's because the squiggly line was done with the quick sketch tool, so I can't change the colour. Layer 2 is this one, and you'll notice that it has no colour, and that's because we're going to change it in the main programmer. Layer 3 was Avolites, so we'll change that too. So if I go to the palettes here, to change a layer colour, you select that layer, which is here. So we've selected this. We can change it by using the palettes. Just there, blue, and so on. I can then bring up this layer, which is the Avolites one, tap and select this one. There you go, we've got, oh wow, got it in yellow. You can see we've got it in red as well. But you can't do it for this one. If I bring both of these layers down and press clear, and then wait for the DMX bit, okay, you notice that it will stay onto the colour that you last did. So that's not called a Pixel Mapper Layer Master. It just allows you to have a bit more control of your pixel map effects rather than having to treat them all as one effect. You just have to have a few faders for this one and a bit more space. But again, you have got the playbacks window on the Open Workspace window, playbacks, and you can record this one on here. Cool. So we've had a look at loads of the shapes to date. We've looked at all the shape engines. We've had a look at editing shapes, deleting shapes, and yeah, all things shapes. So if I've missed anything out, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'll be here for about another 5 minutes or so. And if not, feel free to join for, I don't think it is next week. Let me just double check. It's the 1st of June. That is next week then. Yeah, so next week's one, which is on live busking tips. So if you're interested in that, feel free to join. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me now. Okay, sorry, I was just reading the questions. So we've got a question asking if you can copy shapes, excuse me, from say layer 1 to layer 2. I'll tell you what, I will show you this one. So I'll give you a really good example. Let's release all the playbacks. Let's release them all. Press clear, bring that down. Okay, using this lovely one I did earlier, we'll include it back in the programmer. We'll pretend that we're still programming this one. Okay, so for example, where's this? There it is, a circle. When it comes to copying, you can usually use this button here. So when you do playbacks, you can copy them. So just example, if I said, okay, copy this one there, you'll notice it will copy directly layer 2 to layer 4. So most of the time, if you want to ever copy anything, we have got the button, which is copy. Moving stuff, again, you can move up and down, but on the pixel mapper, you have to do it by this. So yes, you can use, you can copy one layer to another. So you just press copy, select it, and select where you want it to go. So I've now got 4 layers of amazing colours. Actually, you can see I've got loads more, I've got loads more blue rings. Never a bad thing. But yes, you can. So really good question, actually. Any more, fire them away. Feel free to ask. That's what I'm here for. Okay, no, that's right, no worries. Another question, which is again a really good question. What resolution do you recommend when entering in your own shapes? I wouldn't, to be honest, no, but I would say nothing too high. If you're doing something that's like photoshopped and looks very detailed and you're amazing on that, I would definitely say just try and make it slightly lower res. If it's too high, it's going to be a bit difficult, so try and do it slightly lower. JPEG, PNG, the kind of typical picture files tend to work really well. One thing I usually get asked is, can you do video? And the question would be no, just pictures. Video, we've got kind of AI for that as well, and that's a whole different realm. But yeah, picture files, you can animate them. Just make it, I wouldn't say like a too high resolution when you decide to do those. thank you very much for coming to today's webinar. If you have any more questions, feel free to email me. If not, hopefully I'll see you for the next one next week.